Hey guys, it's Chris, and welcome to the Toneful video podcast, episode number 22, Share with No Expectations. So this week I wanted to talk to you guys about sharing and how much it means to the world and how much it means to ourselves that we do it, no matter the outcome. I know a lot of times it's easy to set up an expectation. Hey, when I come out with this song, I'm hoping to get this many likes. Or when I put out this post, I'm hoping to get these kind of comments. Or when I talk to this person, I'm trying to achieve this certain result. And it's really easy to get our mindset into this kind of thing where everything that we do, everything that we share, we're expecting a reciprocation or a result. And I think one of the most important things that you can learn from your communication is to not have an expectation of it. That a lot of times you might be doing a lot of different variations of your communication, and you might be trying things out. And your communication might be varied in its expression. For example, painting a piece of art, talking to somebody, writing music, doing some sports-based thing. They're all forms of expression. And when we hope to share and we hope to get a result off of it, I think that is one of the most complicated situations to be in, that when we have an expectation, which is why I think that when people are making any form of communication or any form of sharing, that we shouldn't have an expectation on it. For example, for the last year, I've been kind of stuck behind myself because I wanted to put out this song. And as I've worked more and more on this song, and it's almost done at this point, my expectation of even what the song was supposed to be, what I would be sharing, has changed so much. The song has become better than I ever expected. It's more well-rounded than I expected. And I believe that now at this point, since I beat my expectation, I should have no expectation. When I give the song to the world, I don't want to be the kind of person who has I got this marketing plan and I got this, and hopefully I'll get this many likes. So then by summer, then I can do this. And then by, next winter, I'll be able to do that. And I'll be able to get a guitar endorsement, or I'll be able to, all that stuff really starts turning into a lot of a plan and an expectation that might not even be a reality. Now, if we take every day at a time, if we were to take every day with no expectation but give our best, I actually think that that's a better way to get closer to that result than it is to actually be the kind of person who's got a whole scheme of plans for a whole year, and that expectation, every time it doesn't get met, it hurts my pride. It hurts the ego that I do have and the soul that I do have. And a lot of times, a lot of people will stop working on things because the expectations that they have aren't met. And that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's a perfectionist, but I've seen a lot of people who just want to be good at something, and because the result isn't coming the way that they want, you see that guitar in the corner of the room and you're like, oh, what's going on with that guitar over there? You still playing? And they're like, well, I didn't really, get as good at this one song as I wanted to get at it. So in the end, I ended up just putting the guitar down. Or you talk to somebody and you go, hey, weren't you, doing this one sport? Weren't you playing baseball after school? And then you find out that because they were struggling a little bit with the baseball, that they didn't really want to do that anymore. They didn't really want to put any more work into what it took because the expectation in the long scheme didn't work out. Now, that's why I believe that every time you work on something, you want to start off with your mindset being super clear, and you want to just be in a place where you allow that sharing to happen. If you're writing a song like I am right now currently, and I put that out, I don't have an expectation on you guys to have a certain opinion of it. I don't have an expectation on you guys to necessarily even like it. I think that if someone took the time to listen to it, that is the biggest thing that matters the most to me, is that they took a second to listen to it. Because even when I'm talking, people don't necessarily agree with what I say or what I'm doing a lot of the time. And there's a lot of times I'll say something and someone's like, and I can accept that, because coming from where I'm from, I had no expectation of them to necessarily like what I was saying, but I was communicating a certain thing. Now, if what I'm communicating can work in the sense of teamwork, if it can build people, and if it can show them another way, I'm beyond ecstatic. That's not something I expect, but if I can get it to that point where people could enjoy what I'm saying and it could help lead them to another thing, by all means, I'm very, very happy about that. I'm ecstatic. But you know what? I'm just as excited about somebody who can hear me out and go, you know what? Nah, but they actually listen to what I had to say. Honestly, they're giving the same amount of respect to you as the person who does agree with you. So, in that form of expectation, what are we really expecting? Are we expecting everyone to agree with us? Because if we're expecting everyone to agree with us or like what we have to do or like what we have to say, I think we're seeing it from the wrong standpoint. I think if we can see it from the point that anyone who's listening to us and anyone who's giving us their time and their respect, they're really on the same playing field. The guy who listened to your song and heard it out all the way and really liked it, and then the other person who listened to your song, listened to it all the way and they were like, at 3 minutes, I thought the song got really weird. That's okay, because these people both gave you their ear. These people both gave you their well-respected and they're very, all of us have a minimal amount of time. So to give you their time and to give you their respect to listen to it is actually a really big gift all into itself. And that's why it's a really big deal that when we start entering this season of, sharing, and we're going to be with family a lot. Thanksgiving just passed, and now we're going into the Christmas, New Year time. It's a good idea to think as we build our new plans for the new year, as we spend time with more people, that everything isn't about agreeance or everything isn't about an expectation that we have. If you give a gift to somebody, you're sharing with somebody. If they open that gift and they react a little bit different, it's okay. I actually just gave a gift to a friend of mine at work who I bought something that I thought they would really like, and the reaction to it was pretty mediocre. The person was like, okay, cool. And they kind of threw it in the corner. And to this day, they still haven't used the item. And it's been over a month now. And it was something that I thought they could use daily. And letting go of that expectation makes it so easy to be okay and to understand that I got a gift for somebody because I care about them. And it's as simple as that. Their reaction to it can be anything. And this individual has even told me a couple of times, oh, I'm really meaning to get to this. And, I'm trying to, and they probably are. I believe them because life is busy and we all have stuff to do. But even if that person was just not really into what I gave them, I'm completely okay with that. I bought that and I felt peace of mind. And kind of like I had been explaining in the last episode that, to say what you need to say and do what you need to do is really important in that way, where I did what I need to do and I said what I needed to say. And in that sense, I'm at peace now because I have no more expectation. I did what I could do. I said what I could say, and I gave that person a gift. What they do with it and what they choose to think of it is completely up to them. And I no longer hold any judgment on myself based on the idea of how much they do or they don't love something from me. I base that opinion on, did I do what I needed to do? And did I share? And if I'm sharing and I'm doing that without expectation, that is the purest form of giving. Again, when we want to be around somebody or we want to give somebody our love, we can give them our love and we can tell them we love them. But at the same time, when you share that, you can't have an expectation. You can't expect that person to either feel the same. You can't expect that person to express it back the same way maybe that you express it. Or maybe you can't even really expect them to even, to listen. Some people are going to be like, yeah, cool. And you got to be able to take that and realize that you're still an important person and you're still an integral part of the light in this world. Being a part of the light in this world is far more important than just setting an impression with one or two people. So when you're giving this season or when you're doing anything over these next couple months and you're planning, I would really think it was cool if you guys took that expectation off yourself and you took off that mental block that says if this song doesn't get X amount of likes, what are my other friends going to think? If this song doesn't get X amount of comments that say that I'm so good at this or so good at that there's actually a problem now. Because there isn't a problem. The main problem is your desire to only have those comments and not do what you do for the love of what you do. That's the only problem. So remember that if we can get to a place where we're mentally okay with what we express, what we share, and what we do, we'll never be at the losing end of that. The only way that you can be at the losing end is if you put something out, have a high expectation, and somehow you don't reach that expectation, because expectations can be made out of anything. Are we drawing from reality, or are we just drawing from a perception in our mind that it would be nice? Now, there's nothing wrong with having belief in yourself. Having belief in yourself and having an expectation are two different things. So, for example, if I have strong belief in a song and I believe it's really good and I believe it's communicating a feeling that I have and it's really going the way I want, when I share it, I'm going to feel very confident. That is the best standpoint to come from. If I share it, I'm going to feel very confident. Now, if other people reciprocate that in different ways, there's going to probably be some people who are going to be like, yo, man, that is so sick. And there's probably going to be some people who are like, yeah, your song was cool, the more medium level. And then you got some people who are like, you know what, I haven't even listened to it yet. And then you're going to have some people who are like, the drums are too loud. And there might be another person who's like, well, your guitar sounded like this to me. And if you live in that expectation with them, if you live in like only their opinion or their variation of what happened, it's very easy to be hurt. It's very easy to be offended, because you're living through your ego at this point. You kind of got to see that having an expectation is like building our ego. Like, you don't need it. You don't need to build an expectation. The saying of like, if you love something, let it go. And if you come back, that's how you know. That's kind of similar to akin to what this is going on right here. It's like a dove. You got to set it free. And when you see that dove chirping back on your banister once again, you realize that you set an impression there. And that is the same way that all of us need to be doing in our lives. We need to be offering up our light to the world. The world is becoming a darker place, dare I say, every day. And that is not something I like to say. I would actually prefer that there was warriors of the light, so to speak, and we were putting out the energy into this world that is unexpecting, that is actual true love, that is coming from a standpoint of universally not just acceptance, but at the same time of discipline. That we discipline ourselves, we accept others, and we discipline ourselves more, and we accept others. And as our discipline builds, our respect builds. And as our respect builds, then so does our ability to share and communicate, and so does our ability to tell the truth. And when all those things align, I believe that you can share with no expectation. I believe that if you're confident with what you're doing, you feel honest about what you're doing, and you did it from a standpoint that you feel very good about, you're going to find that your sharing is actually one of the easiest things that you can do. Just as easy as going, hey, no, to a friend. And then your friend's like, well, blah, blah, blah. And that's sharing. You could be like, yo, I really like this new song by Miley Cyrus. And then your friend's like, man, that song has such an annoying chorus. But you don't care in that conversation, because really the way that it works out, it doesn't affect you, because you're just sharing what you think about this song. And the other person's like, well, whatever. And in that same sense, when we share ourself, we have to think about it from the same standpoint, from that very wholesome, that we're sharing for the sake of sharing, and that we're caring with our sharing. So we give that to the world, we give light, and whatever we can draw back in with good energy, that's your tribe, that's your people. Those are the people who agree with your kind of thought process, and you should develop those relationships as well. Develop the relationships with those around us who think in a similar manner and who build in a similar way to us, so we can have success. But remember, all those people, while they're similar, they might have differences, and those differences can be strong points for us to talk about, strong points for us to ask them about. Hey, like my friend Ben, for example, he's very, very on top of his production, and he's very, very on top of like getting guitar videos out pretty commonly. And a question I can have for him is always like, what inspires you to work so consistently, or what allows you to work so consistently? Where I feel that the efforts that I make, they're good, but at the same time, I'm a little more spotty. So these are things that we can always talk to friends about, and we can talk to them about how they build their life. And when we share and we hear information back, I'm not offended when he tells me something. I don't have an expectation of him to even maybe necessarily have an answer for me. That could be something that could be, he's just like, I don't know, it's kind of just what I do. And I have to accept that answer. So as you guys continue through this season and you guys make plans for the new year. I really hope that everyone makes plans for the new year. Like, you draw some goals out. And again, goals aren't expectation. Goals are like things that you go like, hey, if I were to stick to this thing day by day, I can get to this point. Like, I have a goal to finish learning a song by the end of this week. And the tab is 9 pages long that I'm going through, and I'm listening to it against the music and working on the guitar parts. And as I work on it, I'm on page 4 right now. If I do 1 page a day, by the end of the week, I can have the song learned because that'll be all 9 pages, it'll be 5 more days. Now, if I have a strong expectation about finishing the song this week, it could be a little bit hard. But if I take a look at it as like, cool, I'm just going to learn this page today and I'm going to do the best that I can. And then I'm going to learn a page tomorrow and do the best that I can. That right there is going to be a much better building block and a much better place to work from than having an expectation on myself. So that way, when I come to sharing that music or when I come to working on it, that I'm not, all worried and all bent out of shape when someone's like, oh, like, by the way, could you fix, measure 34? Could you play it like this? And I'm all like, well, like, I was learning it and like, I'm all offended now. Like, you really need to like be able to keep that in mind where it's like, oh, measure 34. Cool. Like, all right, cool. Yeah. Well, when I was going through it, like I didn't see how that riff really worked, but now that I hear it from you and I see it in person, that's how it's going to be. So remember to communicate and share without expectation. It gives you the most strength. It takes away the ego out of it. It allows you just to share and it be from a place of confidence as long as you thought of what you were saying before you said it and it was something that you did want to express. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of the Tone and Toneful podcast. Again, I wanted to go over the variation of sharing without having an expectation and some thoughts on that because I know how it is to share and kind of, have an expectation of oneself. And I think that that's a pressure that we can all take off of ourselves and we can put in, instead of having pressure from the expectation, let's put in more confidence into our communication. Let's put a little more thought into the communication before it comes out and let's feel good about it. And if we feel good, confident, and we're sure about what we're trying to express, I think that will take a lot of us emotionally and psychologically a lot further than having strong expectations on ourselves that drag us down and or might be self-sabotaging us where we put ourselves in positions where we feel really bad about something that we actually feel very good about. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I really hope that your next week goes great. And remember, above all else, stay toned and toneful.